Sri Sai Ram. Dear students, today we shall discuss and share the 10th lesson in your textbook titled Heaven If You Are Not Here on Earth by Kuvempu. Now, we shall go through the profile of the poet. Sri K.V. Puttappa, 1904-1994. He is widely known by the pen name Kuvempu. He is acknowledged as the greatest poet of the 20th century Kannada literature. He is the first among 8 recipients of Jnanapith Award for Kannada. He is the second after Sri M. Govinda Pai among Kannada poets to be revered as a Rashtra Kavi, a national poet. His work, Sri Ramayana Darshanam, the rewriting of the great ancient Indian epic Ramayana in modern Kannada, is regarded as a revival of the era of Mahakavya, epic poetry, in a contemporary form and charm. He is immortalized by some of his phrases, and in particular for his contribution to universal humanism, or in his own words, Vishwa Manavata Vada. He was conferred Padma Vibhushan by Government of India. He has penned the Karnataka state anthem, Jaya Bharata Jananiya Tanujade. Now we go to the pre-reading activity which is given in your textbook. Pre-reading activity. Do you agree that one's life is what one makes of it? Do you agree that one's life is what one makes of it? What comes to your mind when you think of the word heaven? I wish to tell you, my dear students, we answer this from our own perspectives. My dear children, we are aware that you all have a wide spectrum of choices, valued opinions, breadth of vision, hopes, beliefs, and dreams, supported by your age and station in life. There is a dictum which we all have experienced in our lives. As we feel, so we become. As we feel, so we become. As is our vision, so is the world. World becomes heavenly when we are heavenly. World becomes gloomy when we are in sorrow. Everything is in the mind and made of mind. We envelop everything with a layer of our own mind and choose to view everything as dictated by the mind. My dear friends, I want to share something with you. The simple fact is that everything is reaction, reflection, and result. The anger that we harbor in ourselves, the hatred which squeals within us, the envy that produces so much of hate, it's all the reactions which go within ourselves. The same reactions are manifest automatically in the nature, in the world that we see. What about the reflections? Reflections of our own thought, desires, anger, our own delusive thoughts, hatred, envy, malice, ego, jealousy, all these things automatically get reflected in the nature, in the world that we see. Whatever we speak in our mind, anything that we speak in our mind automatically gets echoed in the world that we see. So, when we watch the nature, the world, just imagine, my dear friends, we look at the peacock dancing in delight, yet we don't see. We hear the overripe fruit falling in the still silence of the night, yet we fail to listen. We watch the birds and animals, the flora and the fauna, dipped in grace with a dripping dignity, yet we don't see. What's the result? Heaven slips out of our hand. The still hoary mountain beckons us. Hoary, taken to mean aged, old, etc. Revered, what is revered, respected. Those are the meanings that we can attribute to the word hoary. The still hoary mountain beckons us, calls us, beckons to us also. This is a good usage. It's a good usage. But I have chosen beckons us. The river invites us. The grandeur of sea embraces us. All saying, you are, therefore I am. The meaning is, all these mountains, the rivers and the oceans, they are telling, oh man, we exist only because you are there. If you are not there, we are not here. You are, therefore I am, they are telling. So from this we can understand the importance of, or the significance of man's existence and man's vision. man actually, through his own mind, creates the world within and without. All these are pining for our acknowledgement. All these are thirsting for our own, all these are thirsting for, pining for our own acknowledgement of their beauty and uniqueness. They are waiting to be honored. They are waiting to be appreciated. That is the purport of what I have meant here. Now, we shall have a close look at the poem, Heaven, if you are not here on earth. The poem starts, Heaven, if you are not here on earth, where else could you be? The poet here is addressing or is telling emphatically, we are not here on earth. Where else can we locate you? Then the next line comes. If we ourselves cannot be gods, if we ourselves cannot be gods, then there can be no gods. Meaning, yonder, O brave man, you are verily God himself. I have used the term yonder. That is archaic English. Yonder, taken to mean over there, at a distance. Over there, at a distance. This archaic usage of English is not available in our communications or daily transactions. Yet, they are used to impart some old-fashioned flavor into poetry. So, I just wanted all of you to get familiarized with this archaic usage, basically. Then the next line comes, if we ourselves cannot be gods, then there can be no gods. If we ourselves aren't heavenly nymphs, the nymphs are not elsewhere. I repeat, if we ourselves aren't heavenly nymphs, the nymphs are not elsewhere. Meaning, if we ourselves are not heavenly damsels, the otherworldly angels, so pure, with grace and beauty personified, are never to be available elsewhere. That is the meaning that is meant by the poet here. Now, with your permission, I make a slight departure to inform you about the poet's perspective about God, nymphs, heaven, etc. For the poet, concepts like God, nymphs, heaven, etc. are mythical. What's the meaning of the term mythical? Mythical means that of mythology, that of religious scriptures, religious, you can say fables, stories, etc. So, for the poet, concepts like God, nymphs, heaven, etc. are mythical, which are intangible entities. I use the term intangible. What's the meaning of the word intangible? I'm sure you should be knowing, but I just give you. Intangible means that which cannot be touched, that which cannot be felt. And then what's the meaning of the term entities? Entity means a thing which has its own individuality and its own existence, identity. So, for the poet, concepts like God, names, heaven, etc. are mythical, which are intangible entities, figment of man's imagination. What is figment? Figment means a creation of something which is not real but appears to be real. It's all these things, according to the poet, are just man's creation from his mind, which are not real. And then he gives his real substance. He tells real heaven exists in the beauty and luster of nature. In the beauty and luster of nature is real heaven, and not in these intangible entities. Now we go to the next line. While this roaring stream rushes fast, while this roaring stream rushes fast, the stream is taken to mean a river. But you must understand, it is not a river flowing smoothly that the poet has chosen here. A river which is in fury, you can say. A river which is in flood. Could you please supply me a term for a river in flood and out of control? Could you? You should be knowing. It is spate. There is a word. The river is in spate. That is a word. Such a river roars and gushes forth fast. And we see that. And the poet finds a heavenly beauty in that. Then, see, the rolling surf at the edge of waves. That is actually, what is this surf? Surf has got multiple meanings. But here, we are not going into those meanings. Here the meaning is, surf means a line of foam. Water bubbles, froth, which always adorn the edge of the waves when the waves roll on. When do the waves roll on? When the sea actually comes into contact with the seashore. The waves are breaking. The waves are breaking the seashore. Here you just imagine. You must just close your eyes and see how the waves just roll on like that, you see. And on the edge of those waves, you find the line of foam, froth, glistening, just like the legendary serpent, which has on its hood the lustrous gems, as is told. That is the beauty that the poet drinks in and wants to share with us. So while this roaring stream rushes fast, rolling surf at the edge of waves, next word is very important. The tender sunshine leans on verdant gardens. Here, in that usage, the word lean indicates deep intimacy. The word lean indicates deep intimacy. I shall give you an example. So, for example, when joy and love hits us suddenly, we lean on to our mother, our father, our brother, our sister, friends, in all innocence. My dear friends, shall I ask you one question? Have you watched when there is a gale, a strong wind, the trees sometimes forgetting their own existence, lean on to the next one, forgetting, in total forgetfulness, so serene. That is what the poet wanted all of you to capture in your mind. See, so what we find here is the tender sunshine leans on verdant gardens. Verdant means, say, it is actually countryside, grassland, full of grass or with some other vegetation. On that, the countryside grass and other vegetations, what happens is that the sun is, or the sunshine is so delicate that it leans on them. It leans on the countryside grass and other vegetation. That is the beauty. That is the intimacy you can see there between the sun and the nature. And then the gentle sun. Beautiful, is it not so? See, the sun can be very harsh with us, is it not so? What do you say? During acute summer, when the sun is very hot, what do we say? The sun is beating on us. We say, the sun is beating on us because it is very harsh. The question we have to ask here is whether the poet meant that. No, the poet meant gentle sun. Gentle sun, that is it. That is a sun which is exuding, which is giving forth. I use the word exuding, giving forth warmth and light. And all this make this earth a heaven. All this make this earth a heaven. Now we go to the next line. In the splendor of harvest and of moonlight, heaven lies all over. That's a beautiful expression. I really want you to feel it, actually speaking. That is what the poet wanted, because it is a life experience. You see, that is, in the splendor of harvest and of moonlight, heaven lies all over. That is, in the thick of the splendor, magnificent harvest, when the harvest is on, it takes on a golden color, a golden hue. Okay, and the calming, cool and beaming moonlight. So, in the thick of the splendid, magnificent harvest and the calming, cool and beaming moonlight, nature spreads itself on earth. Nature spreads itself on earth with its pristine beauty. With its pristine beauty. All over. The silvery moon, the golden hue of the harvest, all these things you must understand, they spill all over. Spills all over. Spills everywhere. And that is the sight, you see. And that is the sight which the poet explains here, you see. In the splendor of harvest and of moonlight, heaven lies all over. Now, here the poet, that is the line you see, imbibing and spilling the song of nectar, imbibing and spilling the song of nectar, the poet does create heaven on earth. That is, the poet absorbs and fills himself up with the ambrosial song of bliss, call this heaven, and thus He creates heaven on earth through this song of poetry that is his. Here we must understand, from the perspective of the poet, it goes without saying that natural things are more beautiful. Natural things are more beautiful than imaginary mythical concepts. Imaginary mythical concepts. Before that, there is something which I just wanted to give you. That is, even as we bring this discussion to a close, I want to close the discussion with the dictum, shift the mindset. What did I say? Shift the mindset. The nature is well set. All you need to do is just change your mindset. Nature automatically is well set. Now, with your permission, I must tell you that this poem is a translation. So it is translated by Professor Sri Naganna. I shall make a word of reference to him. Dr. C. Naganna is a well-known poet, critic and translator. He has brought out more than 20 books in both Kannada and English so far. He is a professor of comparative literature and translation studies. Besides being director of Prasaranga, the publication division of the University of Mysore, a number of organizations have honored him for his literary and cultural contributions. Now, before we wind up the session, we shall go through the assignments given to you to test your comprehension. My dear friends, please understand that the assignments given here are teaching questions, not testing questions. Because testing questions, there can be only one answer. Whereas teaching question is basically to test your comprehension. And you can answer by your own inference or with your own discrimination. There can be more than an answer. Answer the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences. According to the poet who creates heaven on earth, what are the different forms of nature that make earth a heaven? On what does the tender sunshine lean? How does the poet create heaven on earth? Where does the poet find God? These are the questions which are supplied to you as teaching questions. Now, with this, kindly permit me to wind up this session. Thank you very much.